You're listening to the Cryptid Creature Show with Todd and Brian. We're glad you're here, and we hope you're enjoying the show. Don't forget to visit our website at www.cryptidcreatures.net. By becoming a member, you'll get access to exclusive videos, members-only episodes, early, unedited, ad-free releases, and even a shout-out on an episode. Join us at www.cryptidcreatures.net, and thank you for supporting the show.
When I was about like 7 or 8, I remember seeing one by the creek. Me and my sister saw it, and we went in. We told my mom. We were like, there's a hairy creature by the creek. I went outside to get something out of the truck. My dad told me to go get something out of the truck, and something screamed in the woods, and it screamed so loud that my dad heard it from inside the house and came outside. We knew something was there. My dad knew something was there, and that's kind of like when it all started.
This is the Cryptid Creature Show. I am Brian, and with me, as always, is my co-host Todd. What's up, buddy?
Hello, my friend, and hello, listeners. Brian, how you doing?
Fantastic. Happy to be here.
Yeah, me too. Have you noticed lately how we're getting a lot of different type of cryptids that we normally don't get? I'm talking like different than different. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Hearing newer things come out and stranger things, which...
Stranger things.
It interests me. Why is that happening? You know,
it's like I've been saying, man. The veil is getting thinner.
I think you're onto something there.
Something coming.
I think you're onto something there. And the reason I say that is because tonight's guest, Sonya, is from East Tennessee, and she thinks that she lives near a portal because of the creatures that she's seeing, not only Bigfoots, but a few other different things. So
awesome.
I'm really excited to get her on and see what she's encountered down there.
Yeah, I want to hear this too.
All right, you ready?
Yep, let's get her. Sonya, how you doing?
Hi, how are you?
We're good.
Can you hear me well?
We can.
Yep, hear you good. Awesome. Thanks for being here with us.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Our pleasure.
So we know that you're in East Tennessee.
I am.
And you had told us that you've had some kind of activity, a Bigfoot family going on near your property. Is that right?
Yeah. Yeah, there's probably about 8 to 10 of them, maybe a little more than that.
Wow.
And I've lived out here all my life. There was a few years I lived in North Carolina, but I've lived out here all my life. So ever since I was about like 8 years old, I've known that they were here. But in the last like 5 years or so, I've developed like a really like stronger bond with them. Like I've really got to know them, like, I guess like individually almost, instead of just knowing that they were just, these things in the woods, So.
Have you had visuals with these creatures?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Many times. Yeah. And it's not like and I know like I could go outside right now and go into the woods and they would be there. So it's not like it's, just every now and then, or like, it's really more like when I go outside.
Wow.
We're pretty far back in the sticks. That's why I had you message me on Facebook and not on like my cell phone. That's why I was like, well, I don't have cell phone service out here. Even with the Wi-Fi calling, it doesn't work. So we're kind of far back in here.
How long ago did this all start with the Bigfoot family?
Well, when I was about like I said, 7 or 8, I remember seeing one by the creek. Me and my sister saw it, and we went in. We told my mom. We were like, there's a hairy creature by the creek, and she's like, no, there's not. That's your imagination. Go back outside and play. So for a long time, I just thought like when you saw stuff in the woods like that, that's what imagination was. For a long time, like I didn't know that when you saw stuff like that wasn't like. I don't know. I guess my mom had me convinced that we weren't really seeing those things. I mean, my sister would see them all the time, but we just thought that's just something that we made up, even though we were seeing it together. So until I was from the age of 8 till I was about 12. When I was 12, I was outside. I went outside to get something out of the truck. My dad told me to go get something out of the truck, and something screamed in the woods, and it screamed so loud that my dad heard it from inside the house and came outside. And he's like, what was that? And I was just frozen in fear. And I was like, well, I don't know what that was. I know what it was now, but one of the Sasquatches would sit outside of our house for hours, just all night long, and he did it all summer long, and he would sit out there for hours just screaming. And I don't know what it was. I don't know. My sister used to make a lot of animal impressions when we were younger, and we knew those things were out in the woods. And my sister would like holler at them. You know, she would like belt out this like really weird like scream. And I think she called one in. And I think that because she would go out there and scream all the time, that they would scream back at her, and they would sit outside the house at night and scream back at us. And that was when I was like 12, and that we knew something was there. My dad knew something was there, and that's kind of like when it all started. So since then, you know, I've known they've been there. I've known they're out there. But just like in the last 5 years, I've really got introduced to like the family. I've really got to know, like I said, I know them individually because I moved away for a few years, and then my dad got sick and my dad passed away. So I kind of like, I had like a few years where I didn't even go outside. I just kind of like, you know, but then I kind of, I had something else happen. We knew the Sasquatches were out there, but like right after my dad passed away, I had a visit from what they call the Wampus cat out here. It's like a 6 foot tall cat-like creature that roams the woods out here. And it had visited me, and I had this encounter with it. I had a friend with me. We went out to feed the pigs one night, and it had been like chattering. The Wampus cat makes these whistles and these chatters. It's different than Bigfoot. Like the noises are just completely different. It sounds like two girls chattering or two girls talking back and forth to each other. It makes all kinds of noises, but like I heard these noises like all week long, and I kept hearing them. And one night, me and my friend went out to feed my pigs. We'd been gone all day, and it was like midnight, and it was like February, and we went out to feed the pigs. And when we did, we kept hearing the noises, and I was like, you know, that's weird. You know, do you hear that? And she was like, yeah, I hear it. And when I was feeding the pig, I was like stirring the bucket, and I was like dumping the bucket in, and then you had to stir it a little more and keep dumping it. But she was standing behind me, and she had a good flashlight, and the thing was like making noises, what it sounded like on the other side of my pig pen. And she was scanning the wood line, and just, we were fine. Everything was cool. And then all of a sudden she turned the flashlight off and got behind me, and she was like, can we go in now? Are you ready to go in? Can we go in now? And I was like, yeah, hold on, I'm almost done. I was like, are you okay? And she's like, I need to sit down. I was like, what's wrong? And she was like, and I was like, do you hear that? And that thing was, and the noises that was still making, it sounded like somebody like hollering at you. But like in like a tune or something. I don't know how to explain it. And she was like, yeah, I hear it. And I was like, let me see your flashlight. Cause she had the good flashlight, and I had like a dim flashlight, and she like gave me the flashlight, and I turned around and I turned the flashlight on and scanned the wood lines, and the Wampus cat was sitting right there. And she looked like one of those old Egyptian cats, you know, like a hairless cat almost. Like her face looked like a hairless cat, but she had hair. She had like long brown hair on her head, but she had like almost like a female body, but it was covered in like a fine hair, like she was wearing a leotard. And she had 2 breasts, and it went down to she had a very dainty figure. Her legs were just like almost like human legs. Like I said, it looks like she was wearing a leotard, and it went down into like a human ankle, and then down into like a paw, like the end of the ball of her foot was still the same, but then the foot went into a paw. And I screamed. I was like, oh my God, what is, I actually said, what the F is that? But I was like, what is that? And I was like, my friend, I turned to my friend, and I was like, do you see that? What is that? My friend wouldn't say nothing. And I was just like, I wasn't scared. I wasn't scared. I'd never seen that. Like I for a long time, I guess I didn't watch a lot of the cryptid shows. Like I knew there were cryptids out there, but I had a family of Bigfoots out here. I didn't need to watch the cryptid shows, but maybe I should have been watching those, because I was just like, what is this thing? What is it? What? Oh my God. And I started freaking out because I was excited, and my friend won't say nothing. And I turned to her finally. I was like, do you see the thing? Do you see that? And she's like, yeah, I see it. And I said, what is it? Tell me, describe to me what you're seeing right now. And she was like, I can't. I was like, but you see it? And she's like, yeah, it's been standing there for about 10 minutes. And I was like, wait, what? She had seen it and just got freaked out and just turned the flashlight off and stood behind me and didn't say a word to me. And we're not friends anymore, but I don't think that had anything to do with the Wampus cat. But I was upset. Then I was like, what do you mean? It's been standing there? I was like, and I just stood there, and it sat there for another, like I have like 5 or 6 dogs. All my dogs were outside. And my friend was just like, I want to go in the house. I want to go in the house. I was like, well, go in the house. I'm not going to leave. I'm not going to move. This is a moment like, what is this thing? And at that moment, like at first like I said, I wasn't really scared. I was curious, but then I was kind of like, it's in those months like February, the Sasquatches are mostly up in the mountains. Like during that time, they go up during colder months. So I knew they weren't around. And in that moment, I was like, oh my God, my Bigfoots aren't around. Like, I feel like they would protect me. I don't know why. I feel like they really would. But, but I stood up there. But then the longer I stood there, the less like scared I got, the less anxious I got about it. Like, I was more curious because it was my dogs were up there and she didn't harm my dogs. If she had wanted to, any point in time that I had heard her all week long, she could have got me in the woods at any point when I was alone. So I know she didn't want to get me. Like, it was wild. But after I saw the Wampus cat, like, I got more back into myself because I read there's a lot of like whitewashed versions of what the Wampus cat is because the Cherokee have a lot of legends about it. So I went through the Cherokee and went and found, well, it took me like 2 days to process what I had seen. Actually, I didn't even think about like Googling cat-like creatures in Tennessee because that's what I did. Like, but it took me 2 days to process, my friend wouldn't talk about it at first. Like, she was totally, I forget, I've seen Bigfoot and I've seen a lot of strange things, lights in the sky. I've seen some things. So I'm not like traumatized when I see these things, but I forget that other people can become very traumatized. And I had traumatized my friend here. And so it took us a couple of days to get her to like, I told my mom what I had seen and I didn't tell anybody else. And then finally my friend come and she finally told my mom what she had saw. And it was the same thing, and my mom's scared to go outside in the dark anyway. She always has been because the things she's seen when she was a kid, so she's scared of the dark, but so she doesn't like to think that there are other things out there than the things that she had seen herself, which freaks her out. But, she's like, I don't want to hear no more about it. And I was just like, well, but like 2 days went by and I was like, you know what? I'm just going to Google cat-like creatures in Tennessee. And I looked it up and it told me like the whole story about it, that the Wampus cat will come to you in times of need. Like if you, especially females, like if you are like if you're having difficulties in your life or if you're having things go on in your home life or on your farm that, that are weighing you down or something, the Wampus cat would visit you and she would bring you good fortune. And ever since that happened, I kind of like, I don't know, it brought me out of a lot of stuff, with my dad passing and stuff. So I felt like she came to visit me because that all happened. So I got back into sitting out in the woods a lot, not only just to try to see her again, but like, but just to sit in the woods with, with the Sasquatches again. And I've become really close to them in the last like 5 years since that's happened. And, there's a lot of speculations as to how these creatures are, what these creatures are. I think there's a portal out here at my place. I'm a psychic and a medium, so that helps. I can actually communicate with these things. They like to call it mind speak, but I don't think that is something that you would want to call that because it's no different than, telepathy or, being telepathic with something. And that's just, it's the same thing. So, but yeah.
Can you tell us about, I guess, the first time you had a really good encounter with one of the Sasquatches and what they looked like? Can you describe it, the face and all that to us?
I mean, I have one that sits outside my house. I don't know people at my home. That sits outside in the woods, and she's about almost 6'5", 6'8", something like that. She's red. She's the one that I have the most encounters with. I would say on the daily because I'm outside a lot during the day now. And she's one of the watchers that sits in the woods, and she's really thick in the shoulders and really thick in the, the junk in the trunk. She's dark red. She's got dark red hair. She's got more of a smaller head and it's more rounded in the face, and she's got her face is like, people ask me, are they more ape looking or more man looking? And that's really hard for me to, I don't know, distinguish.
I guess
it's hard to.
How would you describe the nose? Is it more like a gorilla? You know how the gorilla's got the kind of upturned, flat or is it more like a human
No,
nose?
hers is more almost like a human nose, but there are two males in the group, and theirs are more like gorilla, but they're bigger, and they've got their head shape is different. Um, the biggest male, he's got the A frames, like the A pointed shape head,
Mhm.
and he actually, if you look at him, he's darker colored, but he actually kind of looks like Harry from Harry and the Hendersons, but not like goofy like that. But he actually looks like that. Um, he's just darker colored. And the one that runs the family, she's the older one. She's actually gray colored, and she's kind of got that rounded head. And her face, or her features are more soft like that. Like her nose is more like human, and she's got like softer features like that. And she's really stocky. She's really stocky in the shoulders and in the neck, and then she's got a lot of stock, in the junk in the trunk and stuff. But she's gray colored, and her eye shine's actually white. And I don't know, like, I always thought that was cool because she's the only one that's got like that white eye shine like that. I don't know.
Maybe that would be because of her age.
I don't know. I've always wondered that. I don't know if it's just maybe, I know all the rest of them, they have different colors. Some of them have the same color or the same tones, but like hers are white. So I don't know. And she's gray, and their other ones are not gray. And yeah, so
maybe it's cataracts or something.
I don't know.
And maybe they're just like humans.
Maybe
When it comes to that, the older they get, the more they get gray. Like
I thought that. I'm not gonna lie.
I don't know if you guys gift each other, but you should leave some sunglasses out there.
That's something we do gift each other's. I leave all kinds of things out there. Sunglasses would be, I don't know, I could get one of those oversized pair, for them.
Just wear them out there so she can see it and leave them to her. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, why not?
Ray-Bans, nice.
No, they would too. Yeah, but I like to leave them mirrors and bells and things like that for like trinkets and things. I think it's some of their favorites. A lot of people like to do the little cat balls, that light up, but I can't imagine being like that and you out there playing with it and then just one day it dies. And then you're like,
well, they probably bring it back.
Teaches them reality a little bit, right?
Yeah.
You just wonder. Makes you wonder.
So did you say they're there? You said they're not there all year round. When you said in the wintertime they're gone?
Months. Like in Tennessee, the coldest months here are like February, March, right? So during February, March, there's a lot of just crappy weather. It's really cold. They usually go up in the mountains. They're usually not down and around, I'm sure they come down out of the mountains and stuff here and there, but during those 2 months, they're usually kind of, MIA. But during February, the end of February, 1st of March, about the same time that I had the visit from the Wampus Cat, about that time every year, I have a single male that comes through. He smells different. He smells different, and he looks different than the rest of the family. And I don't think he's a part of that family. I think he's just like a rogue male that wanders. I don't know, but he comes through about the same time every year. And he smells like he stinks. My family of Sasquatches out here do not stink. They may at some point, but they don't smell when I'm out there with them. This one does. He smells like burnt coffee and a polecat, or like skunk and burnt coffee. It's awful. It'll make your eyes water. And when he's in the holler, because he'll stay for about a week or so in the holler, get everything good and tore up, and then he's off. He tried to steal my chickens once. That's how I know about him. And that's how I realized that he was not a part of the family and he was a different one, because I had some different activity. Like I had grew some Brussels sprouts and broccoli, and something had got it, and that's my winter crop. And it was just like, I didn't recognize the feet print or anything. And I was just like, something got my broccoli, and that's unusual for the Sasquatches to do. My Sasquatch, my family, because they don't, usually I gift them stuff. They don't usually have to come into the garden. I've had the juveniles from the family come into the garden and got my corn one year. But honestly, I wasn't eating the corn and I couldn't even be mad about it. But like, besides that, I just knew something was different. Something was off. And then like something tried to get to my chickens, and I knew it was something. I was going to catch him. I was like, I'm going to get him. And so like I drug my chicken coop. I don't know. I might've used them as prey, but like bait. But like I drug my chicken coop right out to the back of my house. So like if I stepped out my back door, my floodlight would come on, and it would come on immediately, and I could catch whatever was right there before it could get to the wood line. That was, and it worked. And he did. He came back the next night because he'd already been there one night, and I done my sister's boyfriend scared him off, and he was like, something's out there trying to get your chickens. And I was like, yeah, I think it's a Bigfoot. And he's like, I don't know what it was. He said, but it tried to rip the top of the chicken tractor door off. And that thing weighed 50 pounds by itself. And it was just, it fell over. It was like, it was made out of real wood and really heavy chicken wire. And it had like ripped it off, almost ripped it off. And I was just like, God, it had to be something really strong to do that. It couldn't have been a raccoon. I mean, I have a hard time lifting the thing up myself. So anyways, I used my chicken as bait. And that next night, I stepped out my back porch, and there he was standing there trying to get the chickens. And I said, I got you. And it's just like he froze, dropped everything. And he stepped back into the tree. But like, I knew he was still there. Like, it was just that, like, I see auras and stuff. He was still there, but you couldn't see him. And it was at that moment I realized how much our eyesight and the way we see things and perceive things, because we see everything upside down, right? When we see it in our eyeballs, and then we have to invert it. And then our brains just fill in the rest of what our brains think is there. And I realized at that moment, that's how they use that against us. He stepped right into the tree and looked like he turned into the tree. He didn't cloak himself. He wasn't cloaked. He just became part of the tree, but he was still standing there because he's that color. And I realized that it was my eyes making him disappear, not him disappearing. I've seen him cloak and stuff before, but this was different, So I can imagine how easy it would just to disappear like that, how easily it would be to disappear.
So you talked about this portal. You think there's a portal around there. Why do you think there's a portal?
I get a lot of strange activity out here. There's a lot of orbs. There's a lot of lights in the sky that travel through here a lot of strange things. I find, and I can't even chalk it up that it might not be the Bigfoot, but I find a lot of strange things out here. I found in just a pile in the woods, like after a storm, it had flooded real bad. And I found in this pile, an old marble, a 1970s Coke or Pepsi bottle, a World War II German sheath for a bayonet. And I know it was that. I got a lot of good knife friends, because it's got the ball at the end of it. That's how you know it's German. I found that, a bird-tipped arrow, and there was something else. Oh, a key to an old clock, one of the wind-up clocks, all together in a pile in the woods. Things like that. I have things like that happen all the time. Just reasons. I don't know. The land in itself is strange. I don't know how to explain that. Like, I don't know how to explain it exactly. You can just feel it. The land's different up here. The land itself is like, it makes you like when I have friends that come up here and stay and stuff. Me and my sister, we both have really good friends, and we have a lot of friends that camp and a lot of friends that live in vans and things, and they come and stay. And a lot of people find this place really, really peaceful, or they find themselves questioning their, their inner deepest like thoughts and stuff. It makes you I feel like it tries to heal you. Or if you are just not a good match for the land tries to get rid of you.
Makes
Best
sense.
way.
Yeah.
Yeah, I believe that. Sure.
Yeah. The land in itself. And I'm I have a creek in front of my house, and I'm near the lake. So I have a lot of it's a spring-fed creek too. So I have a lot of water points, where a lot of water meets right here. And it circles pretty much the whole, from one end of my property all the way to the other, and then it goes out. So it's pretty much protected by that. And then if I walk down the creek, I'll end up at the lake. There's no other houses down through there, so it's a nice spot. There's a lot of TVA property on one side. So, and then my neighbors, they own like 500 or 300 acres on the other side. So there's a lot of room for them to run.
Wow.
And plus there's a mountain in front of me that nobody, inhabits. So I'm down in the valley.
Yeah,
As far in the valley as you can get, really. And in my county, I think I'm the lowest point. I think really I'm at the lowest. I'm like the lowest point house. Super valley girl over here.
Yeah, you're definitely in a good spot.
Yeah.
You're not afraid of these things, or never have been afraid of these things, or have you been? The Bigfoot.
I think when I was younger, because of you just being a kid or just being unknowledgeable, and you hear horror stories, when they did bring out the Bigfoot stories and people were telling stories, you always heard these like horror stories, and these people, but that's just their view of being scared. Just because you were scared, you might actually, you can imagine if you were just walking through your home, which would be the woods, and something come up on you and screamed in your face and was scared of you. That's so rude. So you gotta imagine, yeah. So, I've been like cautious. I've been like freaked out because they be walking around you. And when I was younger, it'd just be like, these things could take off with me. They could do that. The Indians used to say they did that, or the indigenous, excuse me. And the indigenous used to say that they would run off with your babies and stuff. And of course, that's their karma, that's their story. This is me. I think as soon as you enter the woods, they know what's in your heart. They know exactly what your intentions are. They know exactly what you want to do. They know if you were carrying a gun, whether you would shoot them or not. They do. I think with all my heart, they know that. So when you see something like that, if your first thought is, oh my God, I should shoot this thing, of course the thing's going to act aggressive and be like, oh, be on the cautious. But I've never really been scared of them, no. Not in a way, not like maybe that first year, like then when I was like 12, when he was screaming outside the window, because I'd always knew about Bigfoot, and I always believed that he was out there because I'd seen him when I was little. But we had just recently watched the Boggy Creek Monster, and I don't know. And that one, I think it was either the first one or the second one where they caught one of the babies and they had it in the house, and that's why that the things were terrorizing this guy, because they thought that he had caught one of the babies, or he had caught one of the babies. And in my mind, I was like, my sister making those noises, maybe they think we have a Bigfoot in my house because my sister, and she likes to like make weird noises, and maybe they think we have one in here, and then they start terrorizing us, So that was the fear. That was like the biggest fear I ever had as far as like being scared of them. I thought they would drag me out my window thinking I was a Bigfoot, or thinking I was like harming a Bigfoot in here or something, because my sister. But
that's really cool that you're able to interact with the family of them.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
And it's kind of funny, you got guys like me and Brian who dying to have a Bigfoot encounter, and it's like almost an everyday thing for you down there. You're just like, yeah, I grew up with it. They're there. I mean, what do you say to people who don't believe in Bigfoot, or say, oh, it's a hoax, or, it's not real? What do you say to those people?
Well, to me, I'm like, I don't really care if people believe or not. I can say Bigfoot, and I can hear people, even my friends, I can hear their eyes roll, but like, like I tell people, you really can't say that until you disprove it. I said, you can come to my house and disprove it, and they won't do it. I mean, I'll have people up here, like 1 or 2 people. If you've been my friend and you've been up here, then they're real. My neighbors know they're out there. My neighbors talk about them all the time. They won't, like, I have a couple neighbors that won't call them, Sasquatch or Bigfoot. They'll just call them those things in the woods like I used to. And that's that thing in your brain that helps protect you from fear, because if you're scared of whatever's out there, you'll have a hard time just getting out of the car at night. You'll have a hard time if the power goes out here. You'll have a panic attack, and you'll never make it. You have to really, you don't try to force things on people because they don't want to believe. That's okay. That keeps them out of the woods and keeps, the Bigfoot's protected from people who don't want to believe. And then you have like other people who have been scared to death to tell their stories because they think they're crazy. And then I have a couple of friends who've messaged me. They're friends now, but they messaged me because I got out here, and we're in this energy shift in the world, right? So I feel like I could have told this story years ago. And when I was younger, when I was like in my teens or so, and that was like 15 years ago, I did reach out to the BFRO. Now I wouldn't do that now, but I did back then. And they were so dismissive of people. They basically made you feel like you're an idiot. So when you get, when that happens, it kind of destroys a lot of stuff. There was a lot, and there's other stuff to that too. But, so you don't really know who to tell. And it wasn't the right time. Like I even knew then, it was just like, I don't need to tell these people anything. I don't need to tell anybody anything because it's not the right time. And so for years, you've got, I tell friends and I tell people that I know, and I tell, here and there, I tell people, and people that come up here, they're always like, what is that? Because they'll be like, there's something in the woods. And I'm like, yeah, it's Bigfoot. And they're like, no, I'm serious. And I'm like, I am too. You know, and people are like, okay. Now that so I've been back in, like, I guess the Bigfoot community for in the last year. And I've talked to a lot of people, especially about the dog man. And we call it the wampus cat because if you saw this thing, you would think it looks like a lion or it looks like a cat. But I'm not sure that it might not be a female dog man.
Okay, so you're saying that could be that creature could be misinterpreted for one or the other, a dog man or a wampus cat.
Right, because this, like what we call it, the thing looked like a cat to me. But I've seen what I thought was a werewolf, years ago in the next county over. Me and like 4 people were driving in a car and something come out on the road in front of us and it looked like a werewolf. And everybody's like, that's a werewolf. And I'm like, that is definitely a werewolf. But it was definitely a male. I can tell you that much. It was male. And it stood up in front of us and it was just like, that's a werewolf. That's a male werewolf. And it took 2 steps out the road and was gone. And everybody's just like, we got to get out of here. And of course, I was driving the car. I was like, no, we're going to sit here. Maybe it'll come back and I can see it again. But no, they didn't even want to talk about it. I had friends like for years. I've still got a couple of them that still don't like to talk about it because it still bothers them because they were like, nobody believed me when I told them, and I was like, well, we believe you. We were there, does it matter if anybody else believes us? But like seeing it definitely looked more like a dog. It looked like a werewolf. It looked like a dog man. But then somebody told me that they have a family of dog men out on their property, and some of the dog men look like lions, look like cats. And you know what I mean? And I was like, oh, and they started telling me about it and telling me a lot of the traits that these other dog men on their property that look different, like, they have like, different traits or whatever. And I was like, well, maybe that's what that is. Maybe they're just, a different breed of dog man. I don't know. It was just they had a lot of similarities when I talked to other people about it.
Well, we've heard encounters where people have talked about some creatures with a lion type head. We've had that, and we've also talked to people who've had dogman encounters where they say they look more like a bulldog, not really a bulldog head, kind of a mix between a bulldog head and maybe like a Doberman Pinscher head. Kind of hybrid kind of thing. So maybe the shape of like a lion, maybe in that aspect.
Well, with her head, she had pointy ears, long hair, big green eyes. Her snout, though, that's what was different. She looked like a Mancoon cat. You know how a Mancoon cat looks almost like human. Like, so she looked like a Mancoon cat, but her nose was almost dog-like. So it reminded me. That's what it reminds me of. The Egyptian was that
Anubis?
The Egyptian god, Anubis. Like, it kind of reminded me of that, but not as narrow and pointy. It was just, just kind of like, if you think about it like that, looking like a dog, it almost looks like a lion, because a lion snout and a dog snout like that, when it's big like that, they're similar. So it was like that. So, and she didn't have 6 legs or nothing like that. She had 2 arms, she had 2 legs, and she had a big fluffy tail that was the same color as her hair. And like I said, and her eyes were green. I don't know if I said that, but she had big green eyes. She was a really beautiful creature. She was beautiful. I was fascinated when I seen her, because I'd never heard of that before. Like I said, it took me 2 days to just Google cat-like creatures in Tennessee, and that's where I had found it. And there was a lot of people on there who described to a T the noises I was hearing and the things, and some people even described it to a T what I had seen. And it made it real for me, you know what I mean? And I was like, wow, now I know Bigfoot's out here, and the lights in the sky have always followed me. I've seen orbs. I can talk to ghosts. I was like, there's like an endless possibility of things that are out there.
Yeah, you said you saw a rake too?
Yes. Okay. So I thought it was a chupacabra. But it was just hopeful. Like, I don't know enough of my cryptids, apparently. Yeah, I was in the car with the girl that saw the wampus cat with me. I was with her mother in the car in the county next door, the same county that I saw the dog man. And we were just driving down an old back road, and it came out in front of us. It looked like a naked jackrabbit, like a hairless jackrabbit walking on 2 feet. It was probably 2-3 feet tall at the most. It looked like it had an attitude for days, because when it came across the road, it was just like it was it was on a mission, like it had somewhere to go. and like it was pissed off about it, and it turned and it looked at us, and it was just like, huh, and it just kept walking, and I was like, and I know she'd seen it because we'd stopped the car, and I know she'd seen it because at that moment we both went and didn't say nothing, and when it walked out of the thing, I was just like, I went to turn to go, oh, did you see that? And she's already staring at me, like, and I was like, what? And she's like, why do we always have to see weird stuff when I'm with you? She's like, you know, my daughter saw the Wampus Cat and Sasquatch with you, because she was also with me when the male Sasquatch was getting my chickens, so she got to see Sasquatch that night, so she knew he was real. And her mother, the one that was in the car with me when I saw the rake, I guess right before we'd seen the rake, probably like a month before that, we were standing there, and this was like, we saw the Wampus Cat and the Bigfoot. That was like February, March, and this was springtime, so this was like April, May. And she had been up at my house just before that, picked me up, and I was standing in the yard, and I just came out from the woods. I'd left some apples up there, and I was standing up there, and the watcher, the female Sasquatch that sits in the woods there, she was still sitting there, and I was still just staring at her. Me and her we were just looking at each other, and she pulled up, and she got out of the car and come up there and walked up beside me, and she's like, "What are you doing?" I was like, I said I was just looking at the Sasquatch, and she was like, "What?" And I was like, "Do you want to see Bigfoot?" And I asked her because of what happened to her daughter, it wasn't my choice that she saw the Wampus Cat. Like, you know, we both got a surprise there, you know, but how bad it traumatized her and how I realized that can happen to people. I asked her mother, I was like, "Do you want to see Sasquatch?" And she was like, "Yeah, sure." You know, she thinks I was kidding around with her. And I was like, "She's right there." And I was like, "All right, yeah." And my friend's mom was like, she was like, that's not a Sasquatch. And I was like, "Yeah, it is." And about the time she said that, the thing went right back at her, and she went, yeah. So she was like, she went inside like immediately. She's like, Courtney, there's something in the wood. And Courtney's like, "Yeah, it's just Bigfoot. Yeah, blah, blah, blah. Sonya's out feeding them." And she's just like the whole time, you know. So for like that went on for like a month. So it was like a month after that happened, because she asked to see it, you know. I asked her if she wanted to. So, but when we saw the rake and it went across the road, I turned and looked at her, and she's staring at me, and she's like, "Why do we always have to see weird stuff?" And I was like, I don't know. I didn't expect that. Like, I didn't ask the rake to come across the road. I didn't even know it was a rake. You know, I was like a chupacabra, it looked like a little elf. You know, she was like, "What was that?" And I said, "I'll be honest, Dottie, I don't know what that was." I said, "I've seen some things, and I don't know what that was." She said it looked like a hairless rabbit. And I said, "It did look like a hairless rabbit." She said it was walking on two legs. I said it was. And I just let her keep describing, you know, to me what she had seen. So, you know, it would make it, you know, don't want to put no ideas in people's head when you're traumatized, because you can really, your brain tries to protect you when you see stuff like that, because it's like, "No, you didn't." It's like, "Yeah, I did." "No, you didn't. You didn't. No, you didn't." Your brain really loves you to protect you like that, you know?
Yeah, I'm gonna guess that's probably why you're not friends with her anymore.
We still talk. Like, we still communicate. We just don't hang out. And they haven't been back up there. They haven't been back up here since.
That's probably why.
Yeah. And
I don't see any more weird stuff.
I've had a few friends that I had one friend, he got hit in the face with a hickory nut standing out here in the middle of my yard, you know, where there are no trees, and he hasn't been back since.
Well,
because
that's rude.
Right. Well, I think, like I said, the Sasquatches know your heart. And if you have bad intentions, you know, and if you're not going to be my friend outside of the fact that something like that happens, you know what I mean? Like, then you probably weren't my friend to begin with. Probably didn't need to be here.
That's true.
Yeah. So weeds people out really well.
That's crazy. That Brian and I have had this conversation before, where there's people like yourself who live around and have activity going on, and we've had a couple of people like that on the show, that it's just kind of a normal thing for you guys, and you know, you don't care to report it. You don't need to report it. What's the point, you know? Other than
I mean, and if you did report, I mean, if they're just going to make a report, it ain't like I mean, do you guys want me to report every time I see one? I mean, is they're going to get really tired of it? It's going to get really.
You can report it to us. That's fine.
Yeah.
We love to hear it.
It's like, well, I got so discouraged in the Bigfoot community, you know, with the BRFRO and the way they made people feel. And then before they even had the show, if you were a member of the BFRO, before they had the show and you were just a member of, like, when we had web pages, you know, they used to offer people to go out on expeditions. Like, you would pay them and they would take you to a Bigfoot and have an expedition. But then they created a show where they couldn't even find him. That didn't make that make sense to me.
Yeah, we've talked about that too ourselves. So.
Yeah, no, see, I remember that. Like, that was my first year. I was like 18, 19 when that happened. This has been like 17 years now. I'm 36 now. They even came to Tennessee at one point, the show did, and these people around here told them the stories, and none of them, the ones that had actual, like, they had farms and families where they had, like I do, because there's a couple of them. They're not just me out here. There's been a few people out here that, you know, they have the traveling families or the families that come through every year or ones that just live out there. And none of those families who had those kind of reports made it on the show. You know what I mean? Not that it mattered, but why weren't they putting that on the show? They were just people who had been in Tennessee who had one walk out in front of them, you know, or just, oh, it was late at night and there was one in my trash can. That's the people they put on there, you know.
Mm-hmm. You're listening to the Cryptid Creature Show. If you're a fan of the show, go and check out our new Patreon site. You'll get access to our private Discord server, exclusive merchandise, access to all live streams and Q&As, discounts on merch from the Cryptid Creature store, and get a chance to be a guest host during one of the show's recordings. Just go to www.patreon.com/cryptidcreatures1. Thank you for listening and supporting the show.
Yeah, I get the people joking on finding Bigfoot thing. They never found anything. But I tell you what, that show really opened up a lot of people's eyes, I think, to the Bigfoot world and got people interested in it. We hear people just talk about it all the time. You know, yeah, I started watching Finding Bigfoot and da-da-da.
That's true, yeah.
But yeah. Do you think there's any kind of, what do they call it, the woo going on with Bigfoot, the magical stuff? Are they, you know, the cloaking and do they go in and out of portals? Where are they from? I do believe that.
That's another reason I think I believe in the portals, because the way that, and it's not just the Sasquatch. When the Wampus Cat was here, so 2 days after, like I said, after I'd looked it up on the internet and stuff, my brother-in-law showed up at my door because they lived next door. Me and my sister own this property, and she lives next door. And her boyfriend come up here and was like, "Hey, I think there's coon hunters in the woods." And I was like, "Why do you think that?" He was like, "Because I've been hearing stuff." And I said, "Whistling?" And he was like, "Yeah, how'd you know that?" And I was like, "Yeah, I got something to tell you." And he was just like, I told him what I thought I'd seen in the woods, and he just thought I was crazy. He's like, "Well, you want to go walk in the woods?" And I was like, "Yeah, yes, I do. Yes, I do. I'm not even scared." So this is 2 days after I'd seen the thing, you know, I went right back in the woods. I was not scared. But I'm going to tell you something. The way this thing moved around us was unlike anything I've ever seen. I've seen the Bigfoots move around us, right, and disappear. Like that one did. He kind of disappeared into the trees. I've seen them where they just completely disappear, where you don't hear any sound, where you don't hear anything at all. You don't even hear the birds anymore. And you'll be like in this, like almost like a force field, and they'll be disappearing, and everything around you will just be silent, and then they'll be gone. And then back to normal, back to like nature. You can just hear everything again, and you get this weird like ringing in your ear, and like your hair will stand up on your body. It's just, I don't know. It's just this feeling. But with the Wampus Cat, she moved around us so fast when we went through the woods, because we went on a 4-hour hike in the middle of the night, because I don't think my brother-in-law believed me, but when we got out there, the thing ran around us. It would run around us so fast you could just see her tail, and you could feel the wind off of her. And we would stand back to back, you know, with our flashlights like that, and she would come around us, and you could just barely catch her, know she was there. We tried standing there with our flashlights off, you know, and she'd still run around us, and you just couldn't get an actual like visual on her, just a second, like a glance or whatever, and she'd run around you. And that's what she did to us in the woods the whole time we were out there. And she was making these noises that were, I mean, it was worse than 2 owls doing it. You know what I mean? It was scary, but like, I don't know. It was just weird. Like she was just messing with it. I think she was taunting my brother-in-law for not believing me. And to be honest, that's the way I felt about it, because he was just like, I don't know what this is. I said, I told you what it was and you don't believe me. So she messed with us all the way through the woods, but the way she moved and the way it made you feel, I still got that that same hum I get from the Bigfoots when they cloak or when they just disappear. Because there's a difference. Like, I think there's a difference when they move through portals and when they cloak. When they cloak, it's different. I really do. I believe that. And I'm not sure. And a lot of people ask, like, why you only find one footprint here and there. Sometimes I think that they can use the energy in the energy in the woods, and I think they can open up their own portals in certain places. And when they do that, I think a lot of the time, like, wherever they're standing, you get a really good deep impression on one foot when they go, because they kind of step into it. I know that sounds weird, but
not really.
No, that actually makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. I should probably write all this stuff down, and I talk to a lot of people and stuff, and like, I don't know. I don't know.
I think it also helps that you're a medium, that I think you're more in tune with nature, with the natural world, more so than the normal person. So I think, and I think they know that. So
yeah, and I do. I do, and I like to sit outside. I like to just sit outside. I'll go in the middle of the night, and people think I'm crazy, especially now because we've had a lot of bear activity out here. But I'm not too concerned about that. We do have big, guard dogs, because we have a lot of goats and chickens and stuff. So, but like, I'll just go out in the middle of the night and just pick a tree and sit down with my back to the tree and just sit in the middle of the woods. That's how I think I grew the bond with the Sasquatches so fast, was doing that. And I mean, middle of the night, pitch black, don't have your flashlight on, don't have your phone with you, don't have a gun with you. People, they want to go on these expeditions and things, and they always want to take guns. And I understand that you need guns for other things other than the Bigfoot.
Right.
But nothing's going to want to really reveal itself to you if you, because there's ways to chase off animals, bigger animals than having to shoot it. You always just take mace with you, but I don't know. But again, they know your heart, they know your intentions. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I believe that.
Well, it definitely sounds like you're in a hot spot of all kinds of different things going on there, Sonya. I mean,
yeah, no kidding.
What else are you gonna see? You think? What else is gonna reveal itself over there?
Yeah, that's the thing. Like I said, I've seen all kinds of things I couldn't explain, like orbs and things. You see wisp out here a lot. Took me a long time to like differ between like wisp and eye shine, because the way they illuminate their eyes and the different things. But then again, it could be them moving really fast through something with their eye shine on. I don't know. I don't know. I've seen some things I couldn't explain. I've seen some things in the sky I couldn't explain. I don't know. You never know.
And we're going to be down there in Tennessee in October at the Bigfoot and Dogman Festival, right?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Well, holler at me,
Yeah, you should come see us.
What town is that in? I can't remember where that's at. Some lodge there.
Some lodge down there, yeah. I don't remember right offhand.
Yeah, one of y'all could send it to me in a Facebook or something. We can definitely keep in touch. And and I know I had a lot of people, and there's been a lot of people that are big researchers that go out every weekend, that still have never had like an actual visual, face to face with one. And I do, there's those people, I'm like, God, and there's certain people like their heart's in the right place for it, and they deserve to see that, and I think a lot of times, a lot of people go in teams and stuff, and that's not where it's at. That's a lot of times, but if it's like 3 or 4 people, you don't need to go, and we could go on a walk about just like 3 of us, and it'd be good.
Yeah, that'd be nice. We can do that.
Yeah, that's the Tennessee Wildman Encrypted Con.
That's what it is.
McMinnville, Tennessee.
McMinnville.
I don't know how close you are to McMinnville, but that's where it's going to be.
Well, Tennessee's long. It only takes 18 hours to get to
Yeah.
So everything's like 4 hours away.
Some of those states are like that. Yep.
The closest Walmart to me is an hour away, so that's the closest Walmart. So
yeah, you're in a remote area. No wonder.
Wow, you're out there. Yeah.
I talk very well from where I'm from. I can tell you that much.
Yeah, you don't have
Yeah.
a huge accent. I was thinking
No,
about
you
that
don't.
earlier. I was like,
Well, when I talk to people, this is why. So when I moved to North Carolina, I was a server. And I say yuns a lot. And I say, you know, especially when I'm talking out here, I go right back into the hillbilly twang. But like when I'm talking to people, he didn't want me talking like that because he said it made me look stupid. I was just like, well, thanks. Yeah.
oh
So
my
I try to
gosh.
articulate
Wow.
better. And it got me into the habit of talking better. And I did a lot of speeches, you know, like in high school. And my speech teacher also made me not drag those R's and A's and things. So maybe it was him and my boss, you know. So for years, like I had just like, you know, talk better.
Mhm.
Well, you know, with that and your experience with what you got going on, you could be a speaker at a lot of these
you
conventions that go on. I'm surprised no one's asked you to come talk to give, you know, your stories
you
and
could.
everything that like you've done tonight.
Because you know you're pretty knowledgeable.
Yeah, I've done a couple podcasts with a couple different people. You know, just here and there, and I've met some really cool people from doing those things. I think I was on a podcast like not too long ago, though. Like every week we were doing a show on Wednesday, but then like I had an event and I was like, I'm going to be gone a week. And he was like, well, you can't do the show no more. You got to choose. And I was like, well, bye. Not going to exploit me. Yeah. So then when it was over and done with, I was like, I felt so exploited. I was like, you know what? And it's just, it is like that with a lot of people like out there, you know, you're just like, all right, well, if I'm not that exposable or disposable, I'm out. That's fine with me. I would rather go. I do a lot of the Burning Man events, you know, like we have like local Burning Man events, and that's what it was. It was a local Burning Man event here in Tennessee, and I was helping to run it, so I had to be there.
What is a Burning Man event?
That sounds like fun.
You never heard of Burning Man?
I know what the Burning Man is. Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead and tell them what it is.
So it's like, well, now it's like 50,000 people in the Black Rock, Nevada desert that get together and they bring their art and they express themselves freely. And it's
a big hippie festival is what it is.
Yeah. And it actually, you know what's wild? It actually started, the bikers and the ravers in California had got together and they were going to the bikers were going to throw this party on this beach. Well, the ravers also showed up and was going to throw a party on the same beach. And both of them refused to leave. They were like, fine, we'll have the party together. And they were like, fine. So the ravers and the bikers threw this huge party and they had so much fun. They decided to do it again the next year and then the next year. And then it started to grow so big that it became Burning Man. And that's where it started.
They make a big wooden man and they burn it.
Yeah, you should just look up on YouTube. Look up Burning Man. The art is so, the stuff that these people create is so wild. They are truly gifted people that are just out there, and they build this whole city, and then they tear it down and leave no trace. You know.
I'll check that out. That's interesting.
It is, yeah. And the one in Tennessee here is called To the Moon, and I'm obsessed with the moon anyway. So it was made for me. I feel like it was, definitely my home burn.
Cool.
So so I definitely chose myself over, you know, other things. Like I think it's where we're in this energy shift. It's just time. They like the Sasquatches want me to tell their story. It is time for them to not have to hide in the woods forever. They shouldn't have to hide. They shouldn't have to not, you know, be so distant. I don't know how to explain it exactly. They shouldn't have to hide in the shadows.
That's exactly what we think too.
And it's the truth. And it's time for their story to be heard. You know, it hasn't been time yet because I think just the way everything's been going down.
Maybe that's why we started our podcast when we did.
Yay.
Mm-hmm.
Sonya, that's all great hearing about your experience with your family of Bigfoot in your yard and in your backyard, basically. And then, you know, you've had the Wampus cat or dog woman, whatever that thing was, right? And then the little creepy rake running across the road. It's just great stuff. I saw a gargoyle once too, and we can talk about that. Yeah, or like the Mothman. I don't know what it was. I don't know. That's how it in North Carolina. I did not see that here.
In North Carolina, it probably was Mothman then.
Yeah. I lived in Winston-Salem for 7 years or so, and I was just at a house party at a friend's house, and it landed in a tree like near us. And I said, did anybody see that? And about this time I said that, it took off and everybody saw it fly away. And everybody's like, oh, it's probably just one of them big owls. I was like, big owls? It's like a big black owl.
They know 6-foot owls.
He was like, yeah, it could be black. I was like, there's no black owls out here. And there was another girl. She immediately, because I started making a big deal about it, like, nobody's seen that, just me. Okay. This one girl that was sitting at the fire, she just got up and immediately got up and ran into the house and didn't say a word. She didn't come out of the house the whole night. The next morning, I was still going on about the thing that I seen. And she was just like, she's like, all right. She's like, she's like, yo, I need to tell you something. And she's like, and I didn't really know the girl. Like, I didn't know her. She's like, I need to tell you something. She's like, I saw that too. And she described to everybody what I had been raving and ranting about all night. She said, she's like, yeah. She said, y'all didn't notice I came in the house. She said, I wouldn't even come out of the house. She's like, yeah, you didn't notice I've been freaked out all night? She's like, I wouldn't even speak to her. She's like, because she didn't think she'd seen it land and she didn't think that she was seeing it. She was just like, oh, because, we were at a party. There's been all kinds of reasons why she thought she might not have been seeing it.
Right.
And when I started raving and ranting, like, what was that? Nobody's seen the big wing thing in the tree? Nobody, just me. Okay. She said, as soon as I said that, it made it real for her. And she freaked out and didn't want to stay inside. She wanted to go inside with everybody else. She didn't want to get got. She's like, so she just figured if everybody come inside, then it would come inside and get everybody. But if we left people outside and didn't say anything, that they would get them first. That was
logic.
And there's you, like, no big deal. Yeah, there's a gargoyle.
I like her logic. I was like, right? I was aware. I was like, it wasn't gonna get me. It was like Jeepers Creepers out here. Like, no, I ain't scared.
I wonder if it's because you are a medium and you have that capabilities that you are seeing these things and they're exposing themselves, to you, saying, hey, we are here and we understand you. The mind speak with the Bigfoot family, all that stuff,
Yeah, I think definitely seeing something makes you believe about other things, but I also think that you actually have to believe in things like that to be able to see them. And that's the crazy part about it. And it's because once, like you said, once I established I knew Bigfoot was out there, and I've known that for years, and I've always known about the lights in the sky. They followed me since I was a kid. I can almost hear them. I don't know how to explain that any other way, but that I could be sitting in my room, and in the middle of the night, like when I know when one's out there, I can immediately know I can take you right outside and take you and show you one. And it's weird too, because I've been sitting outside the last, when it hasn't rained out here, but like we've had the meteor shower going on, and everybody always chucks up to a lot of the lights that I see being satellites. I'm sure some of them could be satellites, but I'm gonna tell you something. I see those lights every night, all the time, 24/7. If it's clear night, except for during meteor showers. Now, why wouldn't I see them during meteor showers? Because if it was a satellite, wouldn't they still be coming through just like they would any other night? I just figured this out the other night during just this Sunday. Because I was like, why are there no lights in the sky? Why are there no lights in the sky? And I was like, well, I guess it would be dangerous to travel through a meteor shower, right? Yeah, that makes sense.
Would be, yeah.
But if they were satellites, then wouldn't they still be coming through? They'd have to take the chance. Like they can't stop them and move them. But there were none of them. There were none of the lights in the sky that I see. So, I'm just saying, I just figured that out the other night, and I was like, yeah, because I can sit out there for 30 minutes and see anywhere between 5 and 8 of them,
Wow.
And that's just like in an hour, and so not to see any within like the 2-3 hours a night I was sitting out there, it was very odd.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah.
Well, Sonya, we want to thank you for coming on the show and talking to us and telling us about all those exciting experiences and encounters.
Thanks for having me, y'all. I appreciate it. I do.
Anytime.
Yep. Well, you take care, and you see something else weird going on or something new, get a hold of us. Let us know.
Please let us know.
Yeah. If you need anything, you know where to find me.
All right. Sounds good, Sonya. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah, I think maybe she's right. Maybe there is some kind of portal there with all those different things.
You got something going on down there.
I mean, you got the Bigfoot family, that she's just so used to. It's not even a big deal to her. And we've talked about that before with people. It's like...
Yeah, she's not the first one we've talked to about that.
People live around these things all their life.
With something happening like that, yeah.
Yeah, it's that's interesting in itself. But then this wampus cat, or they don't know if it's a dog man.
That's just a weird one to me. That's I would love to get down there and check out her property. That'd be fun.
Yeah, I think it would be cool. That we've talked about that wampus cat before. We've had an episode or two where people have talked about that same kind of creature. So I'm thinking it's something different in itself. Like we talked about, everything new's popping up. So
yeah, it could be totally different, totally new cryptid.
Anyway, it was great having Sonya on. I'm glad we got to talk to her.
She was fun.
It's a good episode, as always, and great hanging out with you, as always, my friend.
Always fun, brother. Always fun.
Listeners, thank you so much for being here. We appreciate you more than anything.
Yes, we do.
All right, with that, let's get out of here. What do you say?
Yep. See ya.